The fire marshal didn't even lower his voice when he said it. "Mr. Vantel, we're ruling this as arson." Just like that, like he was telling me my Amazon package had been delayed. Accelerant poured along the base of the porch, clean line, deliberate. Whoever did it knew exactly how to make a house fold in on itself. I remember standing there brushing soot off my mailbox, thinking, well, I guess this is what happens when you don't join the HOA. Yeah, that happened. My name's Quentin Vantel, retired Navy, federal judge. I've lived on the same quiet little cul-de-sac in Arlington for 7 years. The kind of street where lawns are cut like they're auditioning for a magazine spread, where porch lights glow warm at sunset, where people smile just enough to qualify as polite, but not enough to invite you over. I kept to myself, mowed my lawn, paid my taxes, waved at neighbors who sometimes pretended not to see me. You know the type. What I didn't do, what I refused to do, was join the Willow Creek Estates Homeowners Association. That decision made me a target. Let me back up a sec. 2 months before my house burned, she showed up. Stacked haircut. Clipboard tucked against her hip like a weapon. Lavender perfume and pure self-importance. Brenda Larch, president of the HOA. She stood on my porch squinting at my light fixture, like it had insulted her personally. "You're the only one on this street not enrolled," she said. "That violates our community cohesion standards." I told her I hadn't signed anything when I bought the house. She smiled, tight, rehearsed. We passed a motion allowing automatic enrollment after 90 days of residence. Retroactively. I remember raising one eyebrow. "That's not legally enforceable." She blinked. "I'm a federal judge, Brenda. Retroactive contracts don't fly." She looked at me like I'd just kicked her designer poodle. From that day on, it got weird. Violation notices for a mailbox that matched everyone else's. A fine for unauthorized paint color. Beige. Beige. Same as it had always been. Then my tires were slashed. Cameras went up. Caught a guy in a hoodie egging my fence. Plate traced back to Brenda's nephew. Police shrugged. Kids being kids. Sure. 2 weeks later, I came home from court to sirens and smoke. My back door splintered. Living room torched. Roof sagging like it was exhausted. Pepper, my dog, had been at the vet that day. Thank God. That's when the fire marshal told me it was arson. He asked if I'd had any disputes recently. I nodded. The HOA tried to force membership. I refused. He gave me a look, the kind that says, "I've seen this movie before." What Brenda didn't know was that I document everything. Every fine, every letter, every spray-painted insult. I had recordings, including one where she said, plain as day, that people who didn't follow the rules shouldn't live here. 2 days before the fire, I had already filed a federal civil case against Willow Creek Estates HOA. Harassment, extortion, property damage. The morning of the fire, I signed the warrant for her arrest. She just didn't know it yet. The next morning, I met Detective Rowan in a beige conference room that smelled like burnt coffee. He had a whiteboard covered in surveillance stills. There she was, Brenda in a red blouse arguing with a man I didn't recognize. "Derek Shaw," Rowan said. "Private contractor. Did maintenance for the HOA. Says Brenda paid him under the table to handle problem properties." "Did he torch my house?" Rowan's jaw tightened. "He slashed tires. Damaged irrigation. But the fire? He says that wasn't him. There was another name, Eric Huster. Cash payments labeled special handling. Structured withdrawals just under reporting thresholds. $80,000 missing over 16 months. They weren't enforcing rules. They were running a racket. Rowan opened a financial crimes investigation. I issued subpoenas. The DA coordinated charges. Within 72 hours, Brenda was arrested in her bathrobe, trying to delete files off a laptop. I watched from my truck, parked just far enough down the street to stay in shadow. Her screams echoed down the block. And here's where it twists. I thought this was just about me. It wasn't. When I went to the park 2 days later, neighbors were already gathered around the picnic tables. Margaret, retired schoolteacher, approached first. "We didn't know," she whispered. Lewis, the landscaper, stepped forward, fined for roses that didn't fit the neighborhood character. A teenager said her mom was fined for a bike left on the porch. They skipped groceries that week. Stories poured out like floodwater. Trash bins left out 20 minutes too long. Political bumper stickers flagged as violations. Foreclosure threats. Brenda hadn't just targeted me. She'd isolated everyone. Turned neighbors into informants. Weaponized fear. And then came the second twist. ATF got involved. The accelerant had been poured in a pattern designed to compromise the gas line. Maximum structural failure. Not vandalism, attempted murder. They picked up Eric Huster. He talked. Brenda had offered him $5,000 extra if the guy's scared enough to leave. The guy. That was me. Conspiracy to commit arson. Attempted murder. Racketeering. And as forensic accountants dug deeper, they found shell companies, prepaid debit cards, forged liens. 2 homeowners had lost properties over fabricated violations. This wasn't an HOA gone rogue. It was organized intimidation. We invoked the Civil RICO statute. Treated the HOA like the criminal enterprise it had become. 7 more board members were indicted. Wire fraud. Perjury. Bribery. Elections rigged with proxy ballots from elderly residents who didn't even live there anymore. You know what I mean? It wasn't petty anymore. It was systemic. Meanwhile, something unexpected happened. The neighborhood started healing. The temporary trustee dissolved the HOA. 87% voted in favor. Willow Creek Estates ceased to exist. In its place rose Willow Creek Civic Neighborhood, voluntary, transparent, no fines, no dues. Lewis started a community garden where the HOA office once stood. Vanessa organized monthly dinners, no podiums, no gavels, just folding chairs and roasted chicken. The same people who once avoided eye contact were suddenly calling me by name. I declined a seat on the advisory council. I'm not here to govern, I told them. I'm just rebuilding. And rebuild I did. Brick this time. Reinforced windows. Fire-resistant roof. Pepper got a bigger yard. I got a reinforced mailbox, because I have a sense of humor like that. 6 months later, I sat in the front row at sentencing. Brenda received 12 years federal. Conspiracy, financial fraud, attempted murder. Eric got 15. 2 board members took plea deals and lifetime fiduciary bans. She never looked at me. As I walked out, Margaret caught up on the courthouse steps. You think this neighborhood will ever be the same? No, I said. Maybe that's a good thing. Rain started again the day I stood under the unfinished frame of my new porch. Fresh lumber scent in the air. Pepper curled near my boots. No more violation notices. No more threats. Just hammers, drills, and neighbors who stopped by with coffee instead of complaints. Then came one final piece of the puzzle. A former board member, Curtis, turned himself in. Confirmed a second arson had been planned. Target, Lewis. Torches shed. Blame faulty gas storage. My house had burned sooner than expected. They were escalating. We reopened the investigation. More indictments. More charges. 9 civil cases involving fabricated violations. Fraudulent foreclosures. Evidence tampering. It went beyond harassment. It was a pattern. And here's the thing. I could have walked away after Brenda's sentencing. House gone. Case closed. But sometimes justice isn't about revenge. It's about exposure. Sunlight. Letting everyone see what unchecked power becomes when no one pushes back. 6 months after the second wave of arrests, the state attorney general declared all fines from that year unlawful. Refunds issued. Liens wiped. Restitution funds established. Lewis got his money back. Vanessa's mother avoided foreclosure. The contractor who'd been blacklisted received new county contracts. One morning, I found an envelope on my rebuilt doorstep. No return address. Inside, a photo of my old house right after the fire. On the back, 2 words, never again. I didn't need to know who sent it. That afternoon I walked to the park where it all began. Benches repainted. Bulletin board covered with flyers for gardening tips and a chess club. No violation notices. Vanessa waved me over. I joined the table. No speeches. No reminders. Just laughter. The law had done its job. The community had found its voice. And the ashes they thought would silence me became the foundation for something stronger. So here's what I keep thinking about. How many neighborhoods out there have their own Brenda? Someone hiding behind bylaws and buzzwords, convincing good people to stay quiet because that's just how it is? At what point does community enforcement turn into control? And if you were in my shoes, if your house burned because you refused to bend, would you have fought back or packed up and left? I rebuilt. Not just the house, the standard. But justice only works when someone's willing to stand up and say no. So tell me, where's the line between order and overreach in your world? Have you ever seen power abused up close? Drop your story, your take, your argument. I want to hear it. Because sometimes all it takes is one quiet guy with a dog and a porch light to remind everyone else how to push back. And yes, sometimes that's enough.